Good evening, everyone. I just got done going down a rabbit hole, and I wanted to talk about a rabbit hole because I was watching this video on YouTube, and it made sense to me until a certain part, and I want to revisit this a little bit because, like, it just it boggles me a little bit. Um, anyway,
What happened?
Hey, let me tell you something. So, when I used to work for the county in social services, I went in full Democrat, full liberal, and I came out Republican. Let's talk about it. I used to work in the social services department. So, any public benefits, we're talking Medicaid, food stamps, cash aid, disability, unemployment, veteran service, housing. I did all the things intake, applications, case maintenance, you name it. So, when somebody who has a social security number, like you and I, apply for benefits through their social security numbers, I could tell, or any of the workers could tell, using the social security number, whether somebody is working, whether somebody has money in their bank, whether they have property, cars, how much money they made that year through their taxes, whether they have additional income. However, here's the loophole. If somebody without a social security number, so somebody who's undocumented, applies for benefits, and they do qualify for benefits, by the way, they qualify for full Medicaid, housing, migrant head start. That's fully paid childcare. Not to mention that if these people have any kids that are U.S. citizens, meaning that they're born here, then they apply for benefits for their kids, and their kids being U.S. citizens qualify for all the benefits, all the services. So if you have an undocumented parent, meaning a parent that does not have a social security number, apply for benefits for their children, there's absolutely no way as a worker I could tell if they're making income, if they have any property, if they did taxes, how much money they made. There's just no way. We're talking $1,200 per kid plus $275 per person cash food stamps.
Wow.
That doesn't include housing, all the other benefits they get. And here in California, they don't even care. They don't even hide it. I used to have women and some men that would come in straight up with their nails did, their hair done, blonde, bleach blonde, Gucci bags, Gucci glasses, driving up on Escalades, chewing gum, super loud.
okay. So I want to stop it for a second. So obviously I'm against all that stuff. I migrants I want migrants, but I don't I want them to be on the same playing field as myself. Like social security or not, they need to turn in some information. Um and obviously we need to start making it happen that way. Because she points out, nails done, hair done, Gucci, all this other stuff. So I'm going to agree with this guy to a certain point, and then I'm gonna roll it to the point where I want to have a discussion that I had because I don't agree with him once he gets to that point.
Saying, "Where's my welfare check?" I used to live in a neighborhood where 70% of the people around me were undocumented. And man, did they live the life. New cars, parties every weekend. Oh, yeah, and they also qualify for WIC. I forgot to say that. Meanwhile, us U.S. citizens, we don't qualify for stickity shit. We don't qualify for nada. Nothing. It was so common where the women or the moms in my community that were undocumented, they wouldn't work. They would have their own community of stay-at-home moms while
That's it. What are you paying taxes for? I just have to ask. People come into this country, pay no fucking taxes, get welfare communities sprung up out of nowhere, fully supported housing, food stipends, Medicare. You get nothing because you have a job and you don't qualify.
I
These
agree.
people don't have a job and they come in with nicer things than you have and you work and they get everything.
I agree. Shouldn't work that way. Really shouldn't.
How is this even tolerated?
us U.S. citizen moms would have to go out and work because we can't afford to live. And listen, I don't have anything against undocumented immigrants. Like, hey, we're all human beings. I think that if
No, fuck out and get out. Of course, you know, she's Hispanic, so she's going to say, I got nothing against undocumented immigrant criminals.
See, so this is where I'm going to start disagreeing him a little bit. Like, okay, why are you dissing on someone who pretty much agrees with you? Why? It shouldn't be so. So the real reason I'm making this video is because it's kind of a rebuttal to this guy. Because like, yeah, I'm white, I'm a guy, whatever. But it's but she's agreeing with the fact that, well, 90% of what you're saying, what you think she's agreeing with, and then you decide, oh, I'm going to throw the race into it. So you're just as bad as her, or the side that you disagree with. Like, why? I'm so I I don't know. I guess I'm a milk toast guy, like Tim or something. But like, okay, back to it.
Fucking get out. You broke the law to get in. In other countries, you spend a decade in jail. In America, you get welfare benefits. Get the fuck out. You're a criminal. Criminal. Stop calling them undocumented criminal. That's just simple. Criminal aliens. That's what you gotta say. Criminals. Criminal. Call them criminals. I'm so sick of this softening of the language liberals do. Undocumented work.
Okay, so once again, the funny thing is liberal woman turns into Republican. This is the title of the video. And then instead of you being like, "Yep, I support you," you're still like like this is what I don't like about both sides because you got like I'm technically I'm right leading. So I agree that we should probably get some of the people out of our country. Sue me. But then when someone is actually trying to say and having a actually saying what you agree with instead of just saying yeah I agree, I'm going to try to separate myself even further down the road. And this is what doesn't make sense. Like that's what I'm sick of. I'm completely sick of that. I'm completely sick of what I guess most people would call the tribalism at this point. It's like you were liberal, but you're still using your soft word liberalisms. Okay, so let her say things softly. She's still agreeing with the fact that she doesn't like, you know, people who don't come here to work as a immigrant and getting extra benefits, which is a burden on our taxes. She's agreeing with you. What, what but then instead of saying yep I agree with you, you just decide to attack her on the premise that she was formerly of the other party, or you think she still is because she uses soft words. This is stupid. like like okay. And then everybody's like, oh, we need to come together. We need to stop. Well, okay, the centrists and well, I'm a centrist, I guess, too, again, or something. They always point the finger at the other side and say, well, you need to do it first. And this is the crap that comes out of well, this is the Republican side. You know, well, I don't know. All right,
Workers, undocumented immigrants, undocumented fucking criminal, rule breakers.
If I was an undocumented immigrant, I'd probably take advantage of this loophole too. It's the government, especially the state of California, especially liberal states. It's the government that doesn't allow or put in regulations to limit this kind of fraud and waste. And we're all screwed. Not
yep,
only us
yep,
taxpayers who have
we're
to
all
pay
screwed.
for this kind of
We're all screwed.
waste and fraud, but
Hello.
when the federal government comes in to enforce immigration laws, people are upset. They're confused. You don't understand why is it that they're being deported. if they've been openly living and getting all these free benefits regardless of their immigration status? We need to do better. The state of California needs to do better. We all need to get on the same page here.
Yeah, and it's a simple way to fix this, but she's Hispanic, so she won't say it out.
See, why are you saying this? Is why are you saying this? I'm going to cut to the part that I got me even more irritated. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find. Well, actually, it's not too far down the line, I don't think. But yeah, well, maybe it is further down the line. Let's see.
Real quick, swept off like garbage to the side and put them somewhere else. While you wanted them, no? You were asking for it, no? Please explain.
She's willing to change sides.
Diversity is your strength, but not in my backyard, though. It's kind of crazy how they think like that. And people are right to be upset. Look at this. Migrants' monthly payment in New York City is higher than veteran compensation. Think about this for a second.
That's bad.
That's the most insane sequence of words you could possibly hear potentially. Migrants' monthly pay. So illegals, bro. Again, criminal aliens.
Yes, they're criminal aliens, but you gotta stop. She's saying what you want, and yet you're still saying bad things about her. This is dumb. Once again, why do you think nobody wants to come back together? Why do you think the Democrats don't want to come back to the Republicans? Or why does the Republicans not want to go back to the Democrats? Because this crap comes out of everybody's freaking mouth now. Everyone's. Like, oh, I'm on this side, so I have to sensationalize how bad the other side is. But when somebody on the other side says, I don't really like something that my side's been doing for the last I don't know how long, you can't say, okay, come on over. Oh my goodness. I don't know. This is what's actually driving me insane at this point.
Monthly payment in New York City is higher Knowles to make more than those people who sacrifice their bodies, put their lives on the line. Holy shit, dude. Are we fucking cooked or what? Are the goy gonna wake up?
At Maryland, Guy A. Third donated $4.99.
It's like some dude getting stabbed in the neck. All rich people consolidate power at 300 million, slowly starving, but in their community. It's weird how the moment immigrants, I don't know, 15, 20 years is horrendous to say the least. Giving a bad rap to basically every single immigrant. I'm surprised that Westerners have not just completely shut the borders down and kicked everyone else out who's come in general. It blows me away the shit people are willing to put up with for the optics of we're diverse, and who's pushing this diverse narrative, and why is it diverse everywhere but in their community. It's weird how the moment immigrants started showing up, like I said earlier, Martha's Vineyard, all of a sudden they get kicked out real quick, swept off like garbage
I agree
to the
with
side
him on
and put
that.
them somewhere else. While you wanted them, no? You were asking for it, no? Please explain. Diversity is your strength, but not in my backyard, though. It's kind of crazy how they think like that.
I should have bookmarked.
And people are right to be upset. Look at this. Migrants' monthly payment in New York City is higher than veteran compensation. Think about this for a second. 100%. This is one of the reasons why. Electronically scanned. Let me pause. It's audited.
I gotta find his little rant about something.
Christ. Liberal woman tired of not being able to pay her bills. Signing the petition to give billions of dollars of free shit to illegal immigrants, but not Americans for some damn reason. Yep. I believe everything she says. Over the last 30 years, California's population increased by 23%, while the state's budget exploded by more than 500%. This is one of the reasons why. Uh-huh.
Where was it?
The two-tier Medi-Cal system. U.S. citizens, Social Security required. Ask fraud.
I can't. Where did he?
About some shit about Britain. And it's
here we
like,
go.
when you think of a British man and a woman, there is a skin
Here we
that
go.
you paid into, and then try to
This is
run in your elections and tell you what it means to be a countryman, a fellow brother of your country. Like, what's in UK, they have the arguments about what it means to be British. It means to be a fucking white man or a woman of British ancestry. That's what it means to be British.
So this is where I got mad. I super got mad on this one. All right. British is to be white, man or woman. Yeah, that might be true to an extent. But then if we go by that same argument, and this is where I'm a centrist and I'm not a right leaning person. Well, okay, I'm sorry, I'm still right leaning because I'm straight up conservative about many, many things. But in this sense, I'm not. And the reason this is what I'm gonna say. So if we go by that argument, British is white man from Britain, well, white man woman from Britain, and nothing else. So well then we're not American because there's only one native people from here, which would be Native Americans. I have a lot of gripes about them too because I'm tired of the free money they get because nobody should get free money. Nobody should get free money anymore at this point. I don't really care. That's where well, I mean, this is part of the conversation. Oh, illegal immigrants can get all this free money. Well, why are we mad about that too? Well, stop handing out free money first of all. Period. So everyone has to work. But back to the argument. If that was the case, then only Native Americans are American. We're not. But I'll tell you one group of people that I would be plenty happy to have called British, and there's a few of them over there, and there's actually a few of them in America too. But as long as they are, they assimilated into the culture, I would have no problem with like Sikhs or Gorkhas. Those guys were awesome, awesome military people. Or you know, and if, for instance, everyone can be British, everyone can be American, as long as they come in and want to be part of this country. Like, you come here, you're looking for a better life. You don't live off the state. You shouldn't be coming here to live off the state. You should be coming here to find a job that pays you more than back home. Your $5 a day versus your $15 an hour. Um, like that's the point, right? So and this is where I'm done with this. By the way, I looked up what a Sikh is because I remembered that, and I remember what a Gorkha is. They're crazy. They're just crazy. Look at them. Look at them. They're beasts. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to face them. And the only thing that's a problem with the Sikhs is that they, if they're actually still adhering to their religion, they're supposed to wear a turban. Big deal. Whatever. As long as they can come up to me, speak English, and do work in the general life, that's fine. it's just, no pushing their stuff on you. No, for instance, like, if you go to certain places and certain groups of people, they seem to think that you have to adhere to their rules when they're like, and then that's the rabbit hole. So I went down a rabbit hole, the rabbit hole of going, having a theoretical discussion with Chat GTP or and Grok, and here's what actually what's been pretty much made obvious to me, because I pretty much imposed the question of why this stuff happens, where you know they come in and start using the system, and why they don't. I guess the word assimilate would be the best way of putting it. And by all means and respect, the end result of the conversation, the theoretical conversation I've had, is once I, well, it's not really the result is that theoretically the theory that I pretty much would have to say, and what I want to kind of push, is that you have to have a low migration of culture, or a trickle in effect, not mass migration. Mass migration, bad. Because, and this is the reason why. So, what you need to avoid as a country, I don't care if we're talking about America, Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Russia, any of the countries that people want to go to, even though I don't know how many people actually want to go to Russia, because there's not very much information about that, because, we don't get along with them for some reason. What I found is that assimilation slows down or stops when a group of people, a culture, is allowed to create what's known as a parallel society. And what a parallel society is when a culture takes over a zone that's big enough that that I mean, what it is basically, for instance, like, if okay, it's really based around the ability to get the next generation to be more like the local culture. So the first generation that moves here, the parents, or the founding members in that, like, society, say, you know last name comes, you're the first one with that last name to come into this country, or whatever. So the first generation will maintain their original culture. The second generation, their children, will learn both cultures. Like, they'll learn from their parents about their homeland, but then while they go to school, they learn about the country that they live in now, and start assimilating. But the biggest thing is once you have so many people come in from one group, and then they cluster in one area, and you can see this currently, that they take over the entire area, or like an entire school district. Let's call it a school district. If you have so many people come in that it consumes a whole school district, and there's only the original homeland culture in that school district, even if you bring teachers aren't enough. The students themselves have to see themselves, and this is going to sound mean, the students themselves have to see themselves as the minority. Like they are the lesser group. Not lesser. It's not even. There's no nice way of saying this. There has to be less of them. So they won't shift culture unless there's more of another culture. Like there's, and honestly, and this is what sucks. We can see that throughout history, and we can actually see it throughout American history specifically. Now, this is also actually what it's also what caused a lot of the problems that we're currently having in older cultures as well. All right, so I'll give you an example of current cultures that are have a parallel society. Dearborn, Michigan, huge amounts of Arab Americans. They have good food. I like their food and stuff, but at this point, they were allowed to congregate enough that they actually, if anyone goes to Dearborn, and you can look this up, but they pretty much have Arabic signs on their store. And the street signs are in Arabic, they're not in English. So they're such a large group at this point that they even have they pretty much own the entire council. So it's pretty much, you know, a separate society that, and honestly, I don't know how bad this is, but it's also the possibility that if you go in there as a different culture or different skin color, if we want to go with that, that they won't treat you well there anymore. And there's maybe some city council videos that you can kind of see that. Another one is the Somalians in Minnesota, who are getting a really big amount of attention. And I don't even care about the fraud. Here's the thing. So the fraud that was talked about or done or whatever, yes, but that's only a symptom of the overall thing. So there's so many of them that they've pretty much taken over that sector of that section of Minneapolis, and they don't have to change. And then so what happens is they don't have to change, they don't have to integrate, they don't have to speak English, they don't have to follow they don't have to follow the rules of the country. And since they don't do that, and since they come from a culture that is in disarray, they have to find a way to make money. And they found some loopholes and they took advantage of it. And that's human nature. When you take advantage of something that's easy to get a hold of, tell me I'm wrong. So those are two examples of current. Well, and then of course we can talk about the southern border or Southern California or whatever. The high amount of Hispanics in the area. Now, luckily, I would say that the Hispanics have one large benefit. They have one instance that they have a matching culture. So because that's the other part, like the conversation with chat and Grok and stuff, it did point out the fact, what are we going to specify as culture, and it gave me a list, and it's religion, language, um, this, that, and another, race. If it asked, it didn't really ask race, but it asked country of origin, which is kind of asking race without asking it, because God forbid they say just race straight out on chat. But so the Hispanics, they have one major thing that matches the American culture, and that's religion. They have the same religion. They're Catholic Christians, just like a majority of America. So and honestly, that's why you could see that some Hispanics actually voted Republican more this recent, couple of recent cycles, because they have one part that actually shifted them to the right side, because they're tired of seeing their religion being persecuted. Now, do they have to speak English? No. Do most of them actually do speak English? They probably actually do. They just like hiding it because they know that they can get away with it. And then, of course, they still get the benefits if they want to say, know, be illegals yet. So those are instances of current day parallel societies. Now, what happens with parallel societies? This is what's going to happen with parallel societies. There's a good example of it, and this is going to be controversial, but I mean, if we don't talk about it, nobody's going to try to fix it, or they're not going to, or nobody's going to see it as an obvious truth or anything like that. But so one large group of people that moved, granted they were still inside the country, but we have a hotbed topic, and that's so African Americans. You can see, and actually, there's a good example of it if you actually watch. Um, I know that a lot of people find him controversial, but I like to watch everyone because I want as much information as I can. But Steve Crowder went into, I believe it was Detroit, and sat down in a hair barber's shop and talked with a group of African Americans. And so what happened in, well, after the Civil War in the 20s, 30s, whatever, there was a large migration from the south to the north of African Americans. And they created micro, like, well, it wasn't really they. We have to rephrase that because um, it wasn't self-determined personally. But it's still a good example. So they moved to the north, and they all settled into one section of the city, right? They all, and everybody knows those places as the African American zones, or some people call it the hood, and some people, there's different names for it. But that's a microcosm culture, right? So, and what happened is that the school districts, they went to the school districts that they would be mostly African American and not too much white. And like, I can tell you for a fact, like, so my experience when I was a kid, I was, I was an army brat. So I experienced lots of different cultures. Um, and what happened to me somewhat recently is I never really had to go into the big cities. I mean, I've been in cities, but I've never really gone into big cities and walked some of the streets or anything. And honestly, there was times where I was like, I don't want to go to the city because of the problems that the cities are having. But recently, um, there's been a small movement of people where they try to get out of the cities, and this is every race, creed, culture, just trying to get out of the cities because of how bad they're getting. But I recently had it where um, I've hired a couple of people that were from the cities, and my interpretation of certain groups were based on military people from those groups. And the problem is with that is that they were, they're military, so they actually have a common ground culture in the military, so they don't have all of the quirks. And I ended up having, I hired someone who came out of the city, out of one of those um, microcosms, what I'm going to call them, the parallel cultures microcosm. And they they were difficult to work with. They had much less understanding of how other people work. Um, and actually, at one point where I was just having somewhat of a disagreement with them, I didn't think it was anything that particular. I remember um, I literally got called a racist to my face, and it was kind of funny because I've never been racist. I've never used words that are inappropriate to another culture. Um, Nor did I even use one of those slurs. And sadly, in some ways, that experience with a person of one of these microcosms made me realize that it's not race, it's not culture, it's not anything like that. That is, how do I explain this? Because it's it's a cultural difference, not a race thing. So I'm not racist. I am against certain cultural aspects of certain groups because, like, I've never ever had a problem with any kind of race or anything until that moment where someone accused me of being it, but I wasn't, because all what it was me having a different opinion or different take on life. Wasn't even, didn't even, and then later on, I had another moment with another person who got out of the city, and they weren't even the same race. Not even the same race. They just acted like a city person, and so that's where kind of where I fell into, and so in my opinion, we really need to work against having microcultures. We really do. You do if you want to achieve multiculturalism, it's not that you have to keep them. I believe, like, I want multiculturalism. I really do. I don't want to sit here and say that I give a damn if you're white, black, Asian, Arab, Hispanic. I don't want to do. I don't care about that. But I do. We do need to find a common set of beliefs, no matter your religion, no matter any of that stuff. Like that. That's so. Multiculturalism is something we should strive for, because I think we should. I don't think we should have any kind of racism. But the problem is that we're not focusing on what's causing it. We're focusing on the race thing versus the how people act, because, like, you know, we should be able to be similar enough where we can't make each other uncomfortable by having a disagreement. So if I disagree with somebody about anything, I should be able to not have any problem with who's standing in front of me. I should just have a problem with their idea and not be. You can't just throw the card out, any of the cards out there, and say, that's why you don't agree with me. Like, just like this guy who's like, oh, I don't agree with this. Well, I agree with this woman, but because she's Hispanic, she's still bad. No. Well, English people are only white. Originally, but I wouldn't mind having a Sika or Gorka up, on my side yet, which, they were part of the British Empire back in the day. So if they moved to England because they ended up being, you know, they were part of the empire at one time or another, I'd want them on my side because I'd want them to learn how to talk with me. I'd like to be able to have disagreements and agreements. And when crap hits the fan, I know they come from a group of people who have always been, you know, strong and somewhat fearless. Like, duh. I don't know. How long this has been going on for 41 minutes. Oh my gosh. So here, this is my takeaway. The rabbit hole I went down was about the fact that some we're still fighting amongst each other, and it ended up being that the biggest problem is that we don't agree with each other because we're in separate tribes, and then the tribes turn into, well, why are we in different tribes? And basically it's pretty much because instead of we're making too many microcultures. And what it is like, so the biggest problem is like the extreme liberal, the ones who are way too far over to the one side. They believe in multiculturalism and diversity. Okay, well, diversity and multiculturalism is good, but they still need to be American. So to be American first means you accept what the premise of the country was originally. So you don't get to fly. Well, okay, I mean, it's not really illegal to fly your original country's flag. And that's not what I'm trying to say, but it's like that shouldn't be your primary flag. You should be like, I like the American flag because this country gives me what I have and what I wanted and the freedoms I have. So that's number one. I still remember where my parents came from. I still remember where my parents, literally, me, I remember where my parents come from. I am German. I am of German heritage. Ich rede Deutsch because my parents passed it on to me. I can speak German. Granted, my German's probably, I don't know, fifth grader level, but still, I can't sit there and say these huge ass words that they have, these conjunctive words that it's like, I can't even think of one right now. But if you ever listen to the politicians, they use these big conjunctive words, and it's like, oh, I I know what it means. Well, I understand them, but I can't say them. It's like my tongue cannot do it because obviously I probably don't practice them enough. As a side note, tangent right there. But so that's the thing is so if the left wants to achieve multiculturalism, they need to figure out a way to make where they get to have multiculturals, but those cultures still need to be willing to say they're Americans first. That's what the right's got a problem with. That's the reason the right has a problem with immigrants. That's why we have this other guy who can't even get off his high horse and say, "Oh, she's actually saying something I like, which is good, cool." They're realizing something, and he's just up there on his high horse. Oh, but she's Hispanic, so therefore she's bad. No, I don't. Please, somebody help me. My brain hurts. Like I mean, how do you? The biggest thing is that we're secularizing. We have in the political atmosphere. We have two groups that are freaking insane, both of them, because they're so far to the left that they're only right, and somebody else who's so far to the right that they can't say, "Oh, look at that! That one agrees with something I believe in right now." Anyway, beside the point. Anyway, so this is where that original meme is. I went and found her TikTok. She's, well, Mama True, and it's on from TikTok. He only really cut, I don't know, 10 seconds off the end, which I kind of want to watch now, actually.
Allow or put in regulations to limit this kind of fraud and waste. And we're all screwed. Not only us taxpayers who have to pay for this kind of waste and fraud, but when the federal government comes in to enforce immigration laws, people are upset. They're confused. You don't understand why is it that they're being deported. If they've been openly living and getting all these free benefits regardless of their immigration status. We need to do better. The state of California needs to do better. We all need to get on the same page here.
So not much, but she's literally advocating for getting rid of the benefits, which everybody on the right hates, and why we need to deport all these people and all this stuff, and why Nick is going around and discovering all this fraud, and I don't know. So this is my rabbit hole. My rabbit hole leads to um my rabbit hole leads to I agree with her. The other guy needs to get off his high horse because even though I'm on the right side, I'm conservative, but that he's just a shithead because he can't get off his high horse. And then the rabbit hole of why it's happening. And it's really because the left accepts too much and the right doesn't accept enough. And honestly, I, I'm I'm stuck in the middle, just like my middle management stuff. Stuck in the middle. And honestly, like, I mean, and I'm stuck in a way that sucks because honestly, all the people I used to talk to are technically more left leaning than I am, but because of religion and certain things, I have to. It's not even because of religion, it's just what I believe. I'm more right. I am more on the right side, so gosh, we are screwed. Can people stop disagreeing? How about we just say, cool, she actually is pointing out something that I agree with, and then why can't the other people say, "Oh yeah, I guess I agree with that guy over there a little bit on some things," and then we need to stop having our little conclaves of people who don't want to, they group all together and say, "Well, I'm not changing because I don't have to." Actually, I guess in the end, it's more people are just too scared to change. And it's human nature to just want to stay the same. And that's actually quite against progress, which is kind of funny. because we're supposed to be progressive and multicultural and diverse. All those words mean kind of the same thing. We're supposed to change, and we're supposed to change for the better, but we're not. Anyway, that's my rabbit hole. I hope you enjoy.